And I like to say rise and shine to everyone. It is a great day to be in South Jersey and to be a South Jerseyan. Thank you all for being here today. So I have the honor of introducing the governor today to you all. But before I do that, I also have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing today's moderator for our conversation, Tom Bergeron. Tom is the founder, editor, and face of the Franchise Binge, a news site devoted to covering business and politics in New Jersey, a dear friend to the South Jersey Chamber and many of us, who is well known in our region for prioritizing news and Binge, as well as throughout his previous role as the lead reporter and editor-in-chief of ROI&J. Tom will be leading today's discussion with Governor Murphy, and we thank him for participating with us today. Tom, I welcome you to the stage. Thank you, Tom. Now, moving on to the reason we're here today. I am honored to introduce to you the governor of our great state of New Jersey, Phil Murphy. Governor Murphy took the oath of office as New Jersey's 56th governor on January 16, 2018. I actually remember the day well, Governor. After being reelected in November 2021, Governor Murphy became the first Democratic governor in New Jersey to serve a second term in 44 years. He's behind this scene here, and he says, yeah. The governor's dedication to South Jersey has been clear over his 2 terms in office. Whether he was prioritizing the state's efforts right here in Atlantic City, assisting in Camden's continued renaissance, or signing initiatives into law like the Next New Jersey Manufacturing Program, which makes the largest manufacturing investment in state's history and is an industry that is crucial to our regional economy. The governor always prioritizes South Jersey. Throughout the governor's nearly 8 years in office, our chamber has been proud to maintain a strong relationship with both him and his administration, being the only South Jersey organization invited to participate in the Governor's Economic Council, which Christina participated in on our behalf earlier this week. Additionally, Governor Murphy has spoken to our chamber numerous times while in office, and we are so proud to host him today in his final months in office to discuss all that he has accomplished in New Jersey, but specifically in South Jersey since 2018. Join me in a warm South Jersey Chamber of Commerce welcome as our dear Governor, Phil Murphy, joins us on stage.
Excuse us while we get a few more.
Gov, glad to have you here. Good to see you again.
Good to be here.
Look, as we described, today's event will talk a lot about South Jersey, but before we start, I want to just throw one thing out here that's going to impact all of New Jersey and all of the East Coast. Gov, can you give us an update on the hurricane that's coming up and thoughts on what we're going to, how we're going to prepare for that?
Yeah, again, it's an incredible honor to be here today with everybody, Christina, Robin, the whole South Jersey Chamber team, especially elected officials. My eyesight's not that good, but I see Majority Leader Lou Greenwald, a dear friend for a long time, Latham Tiver, senator, great senator. and to all the other dignitaries. I just got off the phone, literally, Tom, with Ed Kazukowicz. If you don't know who Ed is a lifeguard in Bay Head, in Ocean County. Ed has been a lifeguard since 1961 when I was 4. Ed is 82 years old, still active, and just was named by Guinness Book of World Records as the oldest active lifeguard in the world. How about that? In Jersey, baby. I also just walked out beyond the boardwalk and went down to look at the beach and the surf here. This is a really nasty storm. And the worry that I have is twofold. One is it's going to miss us. So there's almost no model right now that suggests we're going to get hit. That's good news. But when people hear that, they let their guard down. It's gray and a little misty today, but beginning at some point tomorrow, it's going to get nice. And it's going to be really nice through the weekend. And that's the other reason I'm concerned, that people will get uber complacent when they hear the storm is missing us. And by the way, it's 82 degrees and sunny. Trust me, these are going to be record waves, record rip currents. We've already lost 2 people last week, precious souls, one in Seaside Heights, one in Belmar. I'm very worried about people going in the water. I'm happy that I just looked out here in Atlantic City as the red flag up. I'm not so happy that there are some knuckleheads out swimming and surfing. So I would just beg each of you to use your megaphones, whether it's your family, friends, neighbors, the organizations you're a part of. Enjoy the beach, enjoy the shore, the boardwalk. There's so much to do, but don't go in the water for the next few days. That would be my plea. And by the way, the big other concern is flooding, coastal flooding. And in particular, tomorrow early evening, there's a confluence of very high waves, low double-digit feet, by the way, onshore, and high tide. And that's an area of particular concern we have as well. Sorry.
So if I hear you, to summarize, come to the shore, don't go in the water, but spend money, right? Is that what
you
we're...
bet. I mean, this is one of the biggest weeks of the summer. I just had a birthday on Saturday. We celebrated it right here in Atlantic City. So, yeah. Shamelessly fishing for applause. But absolutely right, Tom. Enjoy the shore. There's so much to do, but don't get sucked into the water.
All right, so let's start the program in South Jersey. And we're going to say South Jersey, but this really could be any region, any sector, any industry when I frame the question this way. You had a lot of wins in South Jersey over your administration, and you probably look back and say, there's some opportunities that maybe you wish you cashed in, but you didn't. So talk a little bit about the successes and some places where you said, I wish I would have picked up 1 or 2 more here and there.
Yeah, I'm proud, and again, Lou and I go back as far as I go back with anybody who's in the public service space, literally, in this state, and we've worked on so much together. Latham, more recently, across the aisle, has been a very good counterpart and colleague as well. But Lou knows me for way back. You never go undefeated. You never win every game. But I committed way back when I was running that I would be a South Jersey governor. And I think if you look at the record in totality, including some stuff we're going to make news on today, I think we've achieved that. That's not to say we're perfect. It's not to say we went undefeated. But we've done a lot. One of the first things I did was to make sure, I don't know if Danny Costner or any of the IBEW or Brothers of Labor or Sisters of Labor are here, but one of the very first things we did was to make sure the nuclear plants were their lives were safely extended. And I'm proud and happy to say we did that. We dove in head first on offshore wind. And I'd give us an incomplete grade on that. We were going gangbusters. We had a few bumps in the road, but we were going largely gangbusters, not just to power 1.5 million homes with 11.5 gigawatts, but to have the nexus for the industry be in New Jersey where stuff got made, stuff got marshaled. I've not given up on that hope, but it's no secret that the Trump administration does not. In fact, the president spoke yesterday that windmills were killing New Jersey. I wish we had windmills. But I'm not sure what he's... Before that, he said that we're killing the whales, but in any event, that's one we have not been able to get over the goal line, and you need the federal government, and that's something that I'm still hoping that we can move, whether it's in our remaining 5 months, and we have 5 months as of today, or if it's in the next governor's administration. In so many respects, as South Jersey goes, two communities in particular jump out as they go, South Jersey goes, Camden and Atlantic City right here. We can get into details on each, but we've made a lot of progress on both fronts. The startup economy has been lacking all over the state, and South Jersey's no exception. So we established I think we've got 12 or 13 strategic innovation centers. These are basically startup hubs. 3 of them are in South Jersey. One of them is a med tech with Rowan. One of them is with Coriell Institute in Camden, which is a very sophisticated, high-end, rare disease category killer known globally. And then the third one is an aviation strategic innovation center right here in Atlantic County. Those will ultimately have long legs. We should talk about broadband, which we have put an enormous amount of money into to shrink the digital divide in places that are quite rural, and South Jersey's got as rural places as any part of the state. Transportation is a work in progress. I know we're going to talk more about that, but stuff that's already out there, the Walter Rand Center getting completely reimagined in Camden, which is a huge deal. I think that's $250 million we've put in. Or finally, at long last, getting going on the Glassboro-Camden light rail line. Chris Calori, a South Jersey guy, is running NJ Transit. It's not a coincidence that we've got a lot going on at long last in South Jersey as it relates to NJ Transit. So I could go on. Nobody bats 1,000. Ted Williams, I think, was a .343 lifetime hitter, which means he got out 6.5 times out of 10. Our batting average is better, but I would hope folks would say that we cared, that we prioritized, and that we'll run through the tape doing just that for South Jersey. We tried to get the damn Philadelphia 76ers to build their arena in Camden, and we died trying on that one. I'm not going to make news. I'm not sure the Sixers, HBSE, are here, but their practice facility, their headquarters are in Camden. I see no reason why their WNBA team that they were just awarded can't have a similar profile in Camden. That's obviously a decision that they would make, but we're ready, willing, and able to help them make that decision. So a lot of balls in the air, and I'm proud of what we've done, notwithstanding the fact that it's not perfect.
Awesome. You mentioned Camden and Philly, and I'm going to bring the whole region together, and I'm going to give a shout out to my friends at the South Jersey Chamber here. They put out a report, long story short, a busy polymaker's guide to understanding a misunderstood region.
Great report,
misunderstood region. It was a fabulous report. Broke down all of the issues of South Jersey that might be different from the rest of New Jersey, trying to bring that to light.
Was this a pork roll thing, or? I just want to make sure I know that. I'm in Central Jersey, by the way. I'm agnostic. I'm wearing the blue UN helmet here.
So in your tenure, you did a lot to bring business to South Jersey. Let's talk about it being a misunderstood region. What opportunities are still out there? Why do people not see it as you did? What can we do to get South Jersey more economic development, which everybody wants?
Yeah, I mean, I've already kind of hit a fair amount of the things that we've initiated, and we're open for business to do more. Making sure this city is stable, particularly as gaming rears its head in other places like New York City, potentially, for sure. Continuing Camden's extraordinary trajectory. I'm incredibly proud of the partnership we've had with Camden. Again, Lou's been right there at every step of the way. I think in the report, by the way, Christina, you've heard this from me and from our team, was outstanding. You used the word misunderstood, which I think is a good word. I would also argue that a lot of administrations have not prioritized South Jersey. So there's both misunderstanding it, but also not paying the proper attention to it. I'd put even more weight on that latter category, and there's no excuse for that. There's also, I think, when you look at ceiling of potential, the ceiling is highest in South Jersey. In other words, while we do an enormous amount in North and Central Jersey, a lot of the potential, a lot of it really good, by the way, has been eaten into. When you're as densely present as we are, whether it's industry or transportation or broadband, you name it, you've chopped through a lot of the wood that you're going to chop through. There's still a lot of wood yet to be chopped through in South Jersey. I mentioned broadband, transportation, energy, clearly. I think there's a big AI opportunity depending on how the New Jersey wind port plays out in Salem County. We should talk about that, but I think there's a big AI potential, which is untapped. Those strategic innovation centers will spin off, I would hope, in the fullness of time, in each of those cases, dozens of startups a year. So that's, say, 3 to 5 dozen startups in South Jersey that might not have otherwise started, at least in South Jersey. Again, stabilizing gaming, and we should talk about Atlantic City separately. Again, a work in progress. Bless you. We don't miss a thing up here. We haven't been perfect on it, but we've made a lot of progress. Camden, the progress in Camden could not be better. Robin said some gracious words about me, but her employer, Inspira, Atlantic, Cooper, those are all healthcare systems with enormous momentum, and that typically means good things. The so-called eds and meds, again, that Lou refers to a lot, that gets high-quality folks to move into the state, people who buy houses. And in that respect, we're doing well right now, Tom. I got to find some wood to knock on, but we have more people living here than ever before, more businesses in operation than ever before. We just had a very good July employment report. Most of the gains in the private sector, which is encouraging.
No,
that
I don't mean to cut you
June,
off. I just
which
want to
is
let
good.
you know, if you don't like the employment report, you just go ahead and change it, right?
No, we don't do that.
That opportunity
Fire that
appears to
woman.
be there.
Right? No, that's not our shtick. But anyway, I could go on. But all boats, when the tide comes in, to some extent, all boats rise. But I have found from day one that in South Jersey, that's true to a certain extent, but you also need to put your finger on the scale to make sure they rise even further relative to where they're punching, relative to their potential, and I think we've done that.
You used the phrase ceiling of potential, and I think you could put that on a billboard or a bumper sticker for Atlantic City. We know the opportunities that are here. There's been a state takeover. Your administration extended that. Talk about, are you pleased with the progress you made? Where do you hope it gets to? Give us an update, a little bit more granular on Atlantic City.
Yeah, pleased, but far from satisfied. This is, what did we get? 9 casinos, 20,000 jobs. Is it in better shape than when we found it? No question. The revenues, the gaming revenues have more than doubled, which is a good sign, from 2-point-something billion to 6-point-something billion. We have been consistently beating Nevada and every other American state in terms of our online gaming revenues, our sports book. We've stabilized after the enormous meltdown and closures post the Great Recession. But again, it's not been perfect. We were able to take we got $100 million of boardwalk renovation money from the feds, 20 million of which is going into Atlantic City. That's the most iconic part of an iconic city. We have embarked on a huge streetlight replacement campaign, particularly on Atlantic and Pacific Avenues. Public safety, being smarter about homelessness. Atlantic is helping us out in a big way on that. I want to give them a shout out. good progress. You know, my wife and I went for a run on Sunday morning, and we started up north on the boardwalk, and we run one way. If it's a 3-mile run, the north mile and a half has a lot more wood to chop than the south mile and a half, which includes getting into other adjacent communities at the end. But, you know, getting more security presence on the boardwalk, getting the renovations done, public safety, dealing with homelessness in a smarter way. In other words, let's not make law enforcement always be the first line of defense when there are experts that do that for a living. Again, we're making progress across all those fronts. Business is up, as I say, more than doubled during our time. But pleased, yes, but far from satisfied.
And I'll throw out AC Devco, South Jersey Industries, what they did, Stockton's commitment. You're getting some...
Yeah, you're leading the witness, and I appreciate that. So Stockton University's Atlantic City campus, South Jersey Industries right next door. Devco, which is born in New Brunswick, is now doing an enormous amount of work here. Borai built the first market rate housing in Atlantic City in eons. The water park is a success, so it's proving you could diversify away from gaming and make some hay. That Strategic Innovation Center I mentioned nearby with the feds and the aviation theme will be another very smart, I think, with the benefit of history, diversification of the industry. I again feel good about a lot of the initiatives, but not yet satisfied.
All right, now, nod, wink, wink. Everyone pay attention. The big question of the day. It is a well-known fact that South Jersey lacks public transportation options. The South Jersey Chamber, in an op-ed that was in Binge in the final weeks of the state budget, projected a request for more money to help transportation down here. You're in front of the business community. What are your thoughts that South Jersey businesses are not getting a fair return on their bang for their buck for transportation? And what can happen in that regard?
By the way, before I answer that, was that a shameless self-promotion for Binge?
100%, yes.
Okay. What's your website?
binje.com.
Okay. Did you hire a group of consultants to come up with the website or not? But seriously, I've said this to Tom. I think Binge is off to a great start. Even when they don't say nice things about me, they call balls and strikes, and that's all you want in this line of business. Yeah, no, I read Christina's op-ed.
Thank you for the round of applause.
Yeah, exactly. I always have, do you have applause signs that we can put up? I read your op-ed. We've spoken privately, and I'd say a couple of things. Let me start with the glass half empty. Had we not put the corporate transit fee in place, we'd be dealing with service cuts up and down the state, including South Jersey. That's not a reason to make you feel good, but had we not put it in place, we'd be screwed. We'd be going through what SEPTA is going through right now. So I had a meeting yesterday trying to war game what will happen to the Trenton-Philly line that a lot of folks in Jersey use to commute if they go ahead and cut that or cut back on that, which they are, at least their rhetoric is in and around that. We didn't do what New York City did up north, which was to soak New Jersey commuters with a congestion pricing fee in order to fill up the MTA's budget shortfall. I mean, NJ Transit or transit generally is not unique to New Jersey in terms of the challenges we face fiscally mostly. The question is, how do you deal with it? How do you solve it? And I'm not wild about asking the corporates to step up yet again, but we got there because we figured first we had to solve this within the four walls of New Jersey and not mooch off of our neighbors, which is what New York, the MTA is doing in New York. But secondly, we at least had some rationalization between who's paying and whose workers, whose interests are served by transit. And I think it's a fair argument to make that there's a not dislocation, but there's some dissonance in what you pay from South Jersey versus what you're getting back for that. So we've taken that very seriously. Again, not making news on a couple of things, but reminding folks The Walter Rand Transit Hub project is well underway. That'll take a long time. That's the bad news, but the good news is it will transform that hub in Camden. Secondly, finally, and again, Chris Calori deserves a lot of credit here, we're getting out of the batter's box on the light rail between Glassboro and Camden, which will be, again, in the fullness of time, a game changer. But there are 3 new steps I'd love to make news on. Would that be okay?
I'm ready.
And again, Christina Renna and Lou Greenwald deserve the gold stars on both of this, because each in their own ways, they've been hitting me upside my head on all 3. So shamelessly fishing for applause for the 2 of you in that case, and not for me.
I don't know if they're applauding the recommendation to them, or they're applauding the fact that you got hit on the head.
Yeah. All the above. You probably all know this, but one of my predecessors, Brendan Byrne, when he was asked, how do you know you're no longer governor? His answer is, because people wave at you with all 5 fingers. Only in Jersey can that go over and be well received. So number 1, we're going to establish a pilot. It'll be a year, but I would hope it'll be the beginning of a long-term program between Vineland's Transit Center and Atlantic City, twice daily, synced up to the casino shifts shuttle between Vineland and Atlantic City for work days. We think that'll be a big game changer. Secondly, and again, Chris Calori deserves a lot of credit, and that'll be South Jersey Transit, aided and abetted by NJ Transit. Secondly, we're going to put $5 million to work to form micro transit grids, if you will. I use the word loop, but people tell me that's not necessarily always a loop. And this is a big deal on the eds and meds, and Lou was particularly good and powerful on stressing for that. So that's $5 million to get that off the ground. And then I don't want to put a dollar amount on this, but it'll be a double-digit $1 million investment in a new fleet of electric buses that'll be headquartered and housed in Camden. A, because they're needed, and B, interestingly, Camden is well ahead of the rest of the state in terms of being able to maintain and house electronic transit vehicles of any kind. So pilot Vineland to Atlantic City to sync up with the casino shifts. That's a multi-$100,000 item. That tells me, Lou, in future budgets, we should find a way to make that part of the furniture. I won't be here for that, but you will be, and I'm sure you'll lead on that. Maybe we should expand that even further, because that's not a lot of money for the bang that we'll get. Secondly, $5 million toward establishing these micro transit little ecosystems with a particular bias toward the eds and meds, and then a double-digit $1 million commitment to electric buses in Camden, going through its final approvals. That number will go live sometime soon.
All right, for those of you who have seen me do this before, I always like to break away in the middle and ask a question to the crowd. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to ask you guys, can you hear me and the governor okay? The follow-up question is, how many times have you been to an event where you couldn't hear anything and the microphones were squeaking and the whole event was awful? Gov, you go to more events than anyone. Audio is everything. So a round of applause for my friends over there at SOS Audio Visual. South Jersey company. When you're doing an event, I know a lot of people in here are doing an event. This is not a plug. I just met these guys 10 seconds ago. There's nothing like good audio, so I appreciate the effort you guys are doing.
What's your website?
SOSAV.com.
Did you all hear that?
There you go.
All right. Thank you.
Boy, we're doing economic development up here.
We are.
All right, you've mentioned in parts of it before. I'm just going to say the word Camden. There's so much we can talk about that. Ups and downs in the city for generations. Since you've come in, it's been a priority. I think there's been far more ups than downs. Are you satisfied with Camden's progress? And what are the next steps that need to be taken? I know Cooper just announced that $3 billion Imagine event that you and every other previous governor was at. Talk about where we're going with Camden and what you see.
Dana, is that you? Nice to see you. I didn't realize I would have given you a shout out. Dana and I also go way back.
Round of applause.
Yeah, round of applause to Dana Red. I don't want to say this and then somebody say, yeah, but, and there's always a yeah, but. You said ups and downs. This is up, baby, in Camden right now. And that's not to say it's perfect. It's not to say it's a straight line, but it is on fire. Public safety, business development, transformation of the educational reality, opportunities just getting more available to more folks. So it's not just, for instance, I was on with the whole tech guys yesterday. I think they've got 600 employees in Camden. So it's not just that. It's how many folks in Camden are getting those jobs. And that trajectory at Cooper, certainly that announcement was a showstopper. And you're right, every living governor was there. And that says a lot about, and again, Latham's here, it says a lot about, Melinda, is that you? I didn't see you. Melinda Kane is here. Now I'm running the risk that there are 20 or 30 other people that I'm missing, which please blame it on my eyesight. Melinda's been an outstanding county commissioner and now member of the legislature, and a huge voice on veteran affairs at a very personal level. So Melinda, great to have you with us. It's just rocking. Again, not perfect, but it's rocking. We had a really compelling real shot at the Sixers. Again, I hope we'll have a real shot at the WNBA side of their house. I was with their president last night. By the way, why were we together? We saw The Who. You know The Who? Am I dating myself?
Who?
Who? Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend in their 80s are still really good. So that was, you heard that the lifeguard is 82, Daltrey is 81, Townsend is 80. It shows there's life after the turn of 80. But I feel really, really good about where things are headed there. And the public safety piece of this, and a lot of folks, it happened before I got here, but a lot of folks give credit to the notion of the county force coming in and basically becoming Camden's day in and day out. A lot of folks point to that as a sort of a ground zero moment. And I'm a big Philadelphia fan, by the way. I lived there a couple of years of my life. We've got a daughter living there now. We were just in Philly on Sunday celebrating her birthday. Love Philly, but if you look at the public safety record in Camden versus across the Delaware, it's a stark contrast. And we should all make note of that. And folks deserve, I'll be on the list, but I'll be down the list. A lot of folks in that community deserve a lot of credit for doing what's going on there right now.
I'm going to lead you on Camden because Benj was in front of that story on the Sixers. And in the aftermath, and we did not get the team, two things came out as I talked to people around the country. One, much like when Newark was a finalist for the Amazon headquarters, the idea that Camden was in the news around the country made a lot of people take a second look at Camden, what's going on there. And then the greater point was there was a reason that they were considering it because of all the success that you and the Camden people have had.
I appreciate the latter, but the former was a cold-blooded assessment that we made both before pitching for Amazon in Newark's case and before pitching for the Sixers in Camden's case, that even if we lost, and the likelihood of losing was high in both cases, but there was a meaningful non-zero probability of success in both cases, that even if we lost, it would say something positive. Hey, these guys actually had a compelling case. And to the credit of the Harris Blitzer folks and their professional management, they've all said really good things about Jersey generally and about Camden specifically since then. And that's obviously quite gratifying. That doesn't hurt.
Casino industry. We're in a casino. We've talked a little bit already about it. I'll go through the numbers again. Approximately 20,000 people nearly all of which reside in southern New Jersey or working here. The health of the gaming industry is key to the region's economic success, but of lately, New York and New Jersey casinos have both discussed, and in the last budget tax increase, on sports betting, internet gaming, right? That came up in the budget. What are your thoughts on how do we keep Atlantic City's casinos healthy and happy?
Yeah, I'm not worried about what we did with taxes. We were way under the industry average if you look at American states. We're still on the underside. We raised it, but we basically got ourselves aligned, is the way I would put it. So I'm not concerned about that. And there's no evidence that that's dictating behavior. Couple of things, and I'll be quick because we've hit some of these already. You have to continue to make Atlantic City itself and the experience here really compelling. And I think we've made a lot of progress on that front with still a ways to go. So I won't repeat all the things we're doing: boardwalk renovation, public safety, dealing with homelessness in a smarter way, street lights, diversification of the industry, everything from water park to avionics. So make this as compelling as possible. And no matter where they put a casino, I haven't seen any casino that's potentially on a list that has what we've got right outside of here, which is the extraordinary Atlantic Ocean and a location second to none. Obviously, you got to dominate that between late May and early September, but Atlantic City's done a very good job of also being smart about the shoulder months, into the October, November on the back end, and April and May on the front end. Secondly, you can't ignore the potential and the competition for me that I am most concerned about is downstate New York. Now, they're having their own challenges. When I look at what Lou and Latham and Melinda and I have to deal with as it relates to legislating change, birthing industries, etc., if sometimes we all feel like, oh my God, this is really hard, and then I look to New York in terms of the processes. And by the way, we've got a great relationship with New York, notwithstanding congestion pricing. Eric Adams has been a great partner. We're hosting the World Cup final together next year. Governor Hochul and I have a great relationship, again, notwithstanding the MTA and congestion pricing. But the whole process of getting stuff done there versus even here where we think it's hard, I'd take Jersey every day of the week in that respect. You've seen that in legalization of weed in New York, which has been really challenging, versus what has been deemed nationally to, whether you like it or not, a success in New Jersey. And I'd say similarly, the drama around casinos in New York has been quite pitched. I say all that because a downstate casino is, as a competitive matter, is a big concern. But it probably matters a lot if that's in Manhattan versus Long Island in terms of its impact on Atlantic City. And at least one of the big Manhattan projects has been scrapped. I don't know where the others will be and the timing and whatnot. There's not a lot of noise around the North Jersey piece of this. There was a lot more when I first was campaigning and got into office. I'm not sure where that lands, honestly. But I think the most important thing we could do is to make this city and this experience as compelling as possible. And I think we've made collectively, including with Atlantic City, and I give the mayor and his team credit here, I think there's a lot of progress that's been made there, but we still have a long way still to go.
Progress, long way still to go. That can sum up energy issues in the state, but certainly energy issues in South Jersey. You touched upon it. We can do a little bit more on wind energy. You talked about nuclear reactors. Let's just talk about energy and wind energy and how can we, because I was right there with you. The idea that this was going to be the center, the nexus of wind energy was going to be much bigger. What are the next steps? What's wind energy 2.0 in your mind?
To be determined. I think it's a very unwise decision. When you're in a supply-demand imbalance, as we are in energy right now as a country, by the way, we're not unique as a state. We're part of a collection of 12 or 13 states called PJM. The J, by the way, stands for Jersey, and interestingly. It's a collection that's been in existence for over 100 years. And on the surface, it makes sense. So we wake up one day, Pennsylvania's got excess power and we need it. Or another day, we've got excess power and they need it, as an example. That collection has failed us over the past number of years. Again, as Lou knows this, we called their senior management in. I just signed a bill on transparency. We just don't have enough supply. Demand is going through the roof. A lot of that's for good reasons. I mentioned this earlier. More people living here than ever before. More businesses in operation in New Jersey than ever before. Now, again, with the July jobs numbers, we've got more people employed than ever before. A ranking last week just came out that we're in the top 3 states in America to live in. Massachusetts, Idaho, New Jersey, beating out all these other states that you would think would be on that list. We have the #1 public education system in America that attracts families and businesses to New Jersey. Standard & Poor's just upgraded us. I'm not saying all this to pat ourselves on the back, but the fact of the matter is we're a hot state. Then you add to that new wrinkles like artificial intelligence and data centers. So it's not surprising that demand for power is going up in a place like New Jersey. The last thing we should be doing is pulling back on supply. Now, if it's a coal plant, I'm going to make an exception on that. We're the most densely populated state in America. You've got to be very careful about something like that, and we don't have any more coal. As a result, we don't have any more coal operating in New Jersey. But the nukes I mentioned already, would we look at a next generation of nukes? You bet. Chris Singh, Lou left us, Chris Singh from Holtec, the CEO, I think testified, Latham or Melinda, before the legislature recently. He wants to put 4 modular nukes at Oyster Creek, where we're decommissioning a nuclear power plant. On offshore wind, by the way, which would have produced 11.5 gigawatts. And for you non-energy nerds, and by the way, I count myself among you, that's enough to power 1.5 million homes in New Jersey. So we just took that off the table. I think that's the last thing we should be doing. Now, federal administrations come and go. We try like heck to find common ground, and we do with the Trump administration, but we also have differences of opinion, and this is one of them. But just as, let's imagine a federal administration that said hell no to any more oil and gas exploration in America, and you're the state of Texas, and you're the governor of Texas, and you're sitting on gobs of oil and gas reserves. Well, that's not a forever reality, right? Those reserves don't just go away. They sit there, and you probably bide your time. Either try to convince the administration that they need to reconsider, or alternatively, wait them out. That's what we're doing with wind. Our 140 miles of Atlantic shoreline is not going away. Just as if you're the governor of Texas and you're sitting on oil and gas reserves, we're sitting on 140 mile. And by the way, the newer solicitations were already going to be 30, 35 miles offshore. So all of the concerns that people had with the first round, where they're 12 miles offshore, with all due respect, even then it's fly spec. You won't even be able, it'll be over the horizon. It'll cost more money, but it'll be, in terms of peace of mind for anybody living on the shore with that view, it'll be quote unquote worth it. So we're in that same mode. We're trying to work and get reconsideration. I'm not optimistic at the moment, I have to be honest with you. But we're sitting on an asset that's not going away, just like the oil and gas in the ground is not going away in Texas, and it'll be up. We'll do what we can in the next 5 months, but it'll likely be up to successor administrations to capitalize on that. We've never been hell no on natural gas. We've been very careful to call balls and strikes on all these projects, so that particularly as a legal matter, somebody can't come back and say you short-circuited consideration, and I would reiterate that today. I think we've been constructive. You know, when you've got rates going through the roof, and you've got decisions that are taking a big chunk of our supply off the table. You have to be, as Barack Obama used to say, you have to be an all of the above solutions state. Solar, we're one of the biggest solar states in the country, 5 gigawatts of solar. We're going gangbusters. I'm signing a big solar and battery power storage bill this Friday. So we're going all of the above. Some of this will hit and work, some of it won't.
Awesome. I want to give you a real quick shout to talk about one of your favorite things as governor, the World Cup coming. Everyone talks about MetLife Stadium. The World Cup's coming to South Jersey too, as I know you know. Talk about, there's a reason to applaud for that, right? 4th of July game, I believe, is going to be at the link, right?
Round of 16 game, I believe it's the only game on July 4th, as it should be. Philly's got 6 matches. Jersey has 8. We have the World Cup final in Jersey. We're working very closely together. The axis in the Northeast is a very fluid and well-working axis with Foxborough outside of Boston, MetLife in East Rutherford, and then the link in Philly. I think in total we have 20 matches. I believe that's correct. I know Philly has 6. I know we have 8. Incredibly exciting. Jersey was the ground zero for the first ever Club World Cup, where we had 1 quarter, 5 first round, 1 quarter, 2 semis in the final. Each of those last 4 games, we had over 70-something thousand fans at each. There's nothing like the World Cup. It'll be a game changer, including and especially in South Jersey, but all the way up through all of Jersey. When you have 14 matches, basically in greater New Jersey, I'm not sure our friends in Philadelphia will be happy to be told that they're part of New Jersey, but they are. That's going to be incredible. Tourism, the spirit, the legacy that it will leave behind in terms of soccer fields that will get built that otherwise kids having access to the sport that otherwise wouldn't have. I suspect in Camden, Dana will be a game changer in Camden City itself. So huge deal.
All right, before we get to the lightning round, which I know everyone is, round of applause, absolutely. I want to give you a chance to, a final thought. We've hit on like 94 different topics here. Is there a 95th you want to bring up? Is there anything that didn't come out that you want to mention?
Your guys and my guys were going back and forth on permitting, red tape, how do we cut through it. We've done a lot on that front. And there's a lot of noise out there. I just hope that when people, particularly in a gubernatorial campaign, by the way, if you may have not noticed that people are competing to succeed me, I just hope folks use the facts at some point to make sure when they're making their points. We're not the easiest state. I'm not suggesting that by a long shot to get permitted or start a business, but that's largely for good reason. We're the most densely populated state in America, even though South Jersey's a lot less densely populated than North Jersey. In the aggregate, that's a fact. So you want to make sure you're dealing with your environment, not just your literal environment, but more broadly in an intelligent way. We've got a website that's been hugely helpful, business.nj.com, or .gov rather, business.nj.gov, which has been a huge one-stop shop to go figure out, hey, I want to start a business. How do I do that? So we've been keeping track in our Business Action Center of business, I think they call it business formulation, meaning how many companies get started a month. And we've been doing this as a state since 2004. June of 2025 was the all-time record high. So, yeah. So, again, not perfect, not tearing our rotator cuff to pat ourselves on the back. But the fact is we got a lot of momentum, and whoever it is who gets elected to succeed us, my one wish is that the momentum continues. We're largely going in a good direction, and the data points are undeniable. So let's look at the facts. And again, find areas where we haven't done the job we need to do and do that better. And in areas that are working, let's propel that momentum. That would be my hope.
All right, for those of you who have seen the traveling roadshow that I do occasionally, Gov and I have done a couple of these fireside chats. We usually end with a couple of fun questions that bring out personalities. It's where we discovered that the Gov's favorite TV show growing up was The Streets of San Francisco, which was a wonderful addition. We talked about who you'd have at your dinner party. So for this one, I'm going to do a Philadelphia edition. And I'm going to say, we're going to have dinner, we're going to have wings and beer, and you can bring 3 Philly sports stars from your childhood to come visit.
Wow.
Dr. J, Jaworski, Schmidt, who do you like? Who are you bringing? Who do you want to dine with on the Philly sports scene?
Yeah, remember that I was born in Boston, and I was not a natural Philly. Although I lived in Philly from 81 to 83, and the Sixers won a great title in that. That was Moses Malone's famous 4-4-4. I think they went 12-1. I don't think they went undefeated. Malone would be there. Sadly he's passed, but from Petersburg, Virginia. Always a huge fan of his, a workaholic, outworked the other guy, incredible stamina. You mentioned Dr. J, hard not to have him in there. Jaworski, I've gotten to know personally. George Norcross introduced me to Jaws many years ago, and I've seen him a lot in South Jersey over the years. So not just as a fan of the Dick Vermeil era of Eagles, but also a guy I admire personally. Let me just try to think if there's a wild card I could throw at you. I mean, Schmidt would have to be on the list. I'd have a separate dinner with Pete Rose just because that might upset some other folks at the dinner table, but that would be worth the price of admission, right? Again, sadly, he's passed. I wouldn't have any flyers. Don't be mad at me. The Broad Street bully era is when I was growing up with Bobby Clark and that whole crowd. Baseball. Steve Carlton. Steve Carlton would have to be on the list. One of the all-time, I'd argue, top 5 all-time great pitchers. Eagles, I'd stick with Jaws. Dr. J and Malone. I think I'll stop there. That's a few more. That's a bigger check than you were allocating me. So
there you go. I'm Tom. He's the governor. Round of applause. Thank you. Christina, take it away.
Now, before Christina says anything, Tom's son Benjamin is right there, rising senior at the University of Alabama. Roll, Tide, roll.
Well, Governor, thank you so much, first of all, for taking 45 minutes to really walk through. I mean, we could be here for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours talking about all you've accomplished in South Jersey. But we tackled so many issues, so many positive things that you've done for the region, so many things that are still to come after you leave office. I know everyone in this room agrees that you have been such a wonderful partner to this chamber, and that exclamation point on that was shown today on the transportation announcement, and something that I am so grateful for your leadership, for not telling me to shut the hell up. Lou had to leave, but he's also sick of me. We have been working on this for months and months, and it doesn't happen without a receptive audience in someone like you and your team, and your leadership and your vision, understanding that as much as we fought the corporate transit fee and we didn't want to see that enacted, if it was going to be enacted, we really wanted South Jersey to see a return on that investment, and you made that happen today, and thank you so much for that. Please join me in a round of applause for the governor. I also just quickly want to thank Tom. You know, nothing happens without partners. Our team at the Chamber is amazing. Hillary Chebra and I have been working on this, as I said, for months, but we worked on an op-ed, and I gave it to Tom, and Tom doesn't have to run everything you give him. And he came back to me and he said, Christina, this is a fantastic op-ed, and I remember you saying to me, if more op-eds were effective like this Chamber op-ed is, we would see more advocacy and action and being effective. And that is high praise from you, Tom, and really speaks to our friendship and the relationship our members and our chamber have with you. Thank you as well, because you deserve a thank you in all of this. So with that, Governor, a few more months left, but we have enjoyed working with you every moment. We have enjoyed every moment of today. Thank you again for all you've done for South Jersey. Everyone, please join me in one final round of applause. And that's a day. Everyone, thank you for attending, and we'll see you at a chamber event soon.
Thank you so much for having me. That was really fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dana, love you.